Hi, I'm Summer.
And I'm Mike.
And we got married.
With children.
We're going on 2 years of marriage.
But we've been together for 10.
He brought 2.
She brought 2.
Together, that's 4 kids.
That's way too many kids.
And we want to share what works for us.
And what doesn't.
For step-parents, co-parents, marriage, being your best self, managing work, family, friends, health. We're going to talk about...
everything.
You ready, babe?
Always. Welcome to another episode of Everything Always.
Welcome, welcome. I wish you guys could see us just moments before starting this interview.
She poked me right as it's like, she hits record and then pokes me like, talk, bear.
Start talking.
That's
okay.
Funny. All right. Well, hey, welcome to the Everything Always podcast. We have a pretty interesting episode today talking about some of the things that you think might be going on or going to happen when you are getting ready to blend your family. But some of those expectations are probably not going to be true. So this is a set you straight kind of podcast. We're going to tell you all the things you think are going to be perfect, and we're going to rip out the blanket right underneath your feet so you fall over.
All of your bubbles.
Oh, those bubbles be bursted.
Yeah, so I think we've talked about assumptions before of the things that can go wrong.
Oh, and if you listen to our Brewing with the Molders on Friday mornings or some
just
of
our
podcasts, you'll know that expectations...
or assumptions, actually. I get expectations are different than assumptions.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So this is like making the assumption that everything's going to, well, you could be making the assumption that everything's going to go wrong, or you could be having the expectation like it's going to be awesome.
Most people are pretty optimistic and are glass half full kind of people. So they're like, I'm going to blend my family and everything is just going to be awesome.
We are meant to be together. This is all going to be great, and love will prevail until all of a sudden you have one of those days where it goes.
You're like, holy crap, everything is not working, and this is totally not what I signed up for, and I do not like the current situation that I am in.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do here is to tell you that it is going to be okay. But if you go into it with eyes wide open, knowing what to expect, I think that we will have more successful second marriages.
We have a bulleted list here sitting in front of us as we thought about all of the things that people think are going to be awesome. And not to say that it won't be awesome, but just like you said.
Oh, there's going to be times.
Be prepared.
But I think the thing is, like with anything, there will be challenges. There was probably challenges in whatever you were doing before, and that's why you're blending. Maybe not. A lot of times you get yourself into a situation and you haven't done anything to deserve it. So at least you should also know what to expect when you land there.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, man.
Well, hey, you know what? I'm going to do a quick analogy here. It's kind of like when I think of us, we are entrepreneurs starting a business, and you go, oh my gosh, I have this fabulous idea. It's totally going to kick ass. Everyone's going to buy it. Everyone's going to love it.
I'm going to dominate the planet, and there will be no struggles or challenges.
Yeah. And you just go to build it, and then it's like, oh,
wait.
Nobody cares. Nobody's paying attention. I totally thought that ad I put out was going to be amazing, and nobody's buying.
And now it's time to get into fight war mode.
Yeah. And you either give up and realize, okay, maybe I wasn't cut out for this, or you're like, cool, it doesn't matter. I still believe in it, and
That's
I'm going to
right.
do everything it takes to make it happen.
And when you're in battle mode, you pretty much can't lose.
Right.
Head down.
So,
boom.
I would like to preface everything that we're about to talk about is really knowing, again, we said this in one of our first episodes, is really knowing what's that vision of where you want to be, where do you want to go, and how much do you believe in it? Because it will not be smooth sailing. I don't think anything in life is really super smooth sailing to get to where you want to be.
Well, and there is also that saying that the things that you care about the most are the things that you have to struggle to achieve. So set an intention, have a goal.
You appreciate it more too.
Create that thing in your head that's like, okay, this is what I want to have. Work toward it, and you'll get there. But it won't come easy. And if it comes too easy, well,
Well,
Oh, I want to say, are you allowed to cuss on the podcast? Well, then screw you, because it wasn't easy for everyone else. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So let's dive in.
All right, let's
We're
do
ready?
it. Yeah.
Okay. People will think that as soon as they blend with their spouse and the children, or the one child, or the 4 children, or the one child and the new child you're going to have together, that it's going to be this instant loving family, an insta-fam.
Roses and everybody wanting to play Duck Duck Goose.
I love my new sibling.
Picnics in the park and long walks on the beach, and all the kids are getting along.
That's just laughs and smiles.
You know what?
And
that sounds
let me help you
amazing.
clean the kitchen. New mom.
Oh, hey, stepbrother. Let's go outside and have a catch.
Let's go throw the ball for a while and then go help mom and dad make dinner. Those moments could happen eventually.
Yeah, and they might happen at the beginning, and they might go away. But
there might be periods of that. Actually, there might be days where you're like, oh my gosh, everyone's getting along. This is crazy cool. But then you're going to have those times where it's like nobody's getting along. Everybody's on edge, and this one is mad at that person, or oh my gosh, we're having a new baby, and the kids are totally upset about it. I thought they were going to be excited. There's so many things that can happen. So
remember that it doesn't happen instantaneously.
It does not happen.
It takes time.
Yes.
Everybody's got to find their groove. So don't go into it with the expectation that you're just going to be like, bam, running start, down on the ground. And it might even be a situation where everybody's been getting along so great, and now we've decided to make it official. Oh, and the dynamic and that, like all that stuff, just keep in mind that it might not be perfect right away. Things that are worth having take work.
Yes.
Okay, what's next?
Doesn't mean you have to give up. Okay, so for a lot of step parents, their hope is that the children that have come to them are just going to like love them automatically. And sometimes that can happen. And I think that happens more so when children are younger. I was lucky enough, and you were lucky enough, that our children were so young that they all met us at a very young age, where it was kind of like, you're cool. There wasn't a ton of drama in the department of, I don't like you, who are you in my life now? But as kids get older and the parents that they loved being together are now not together anymore, and now somebody new is coming in.
Yeah, the older,
expecting that they're going to love you right away and get along with you and want to go have ice cream with you, and long talks on the porch about their crushes and all that. Oh, that takes a long time. That is not going to happen right away.
The other thing that comes to mind in terms of that,
most likely not going to happen. It could happen for you.
I think it also depends on the other side, right? It depends on how the kids are reacting with their other parent. Mm-hmm. How that's happening. If they're making it easy and they're being supportive and they're open and happy about their now ex's new relationship, it will make the kids feel like it's okay, that they are not betraying that other parent,
right,
to go ahead and allow someone else to come into their life. So remember that. I mean, if you want the best outcome for your kid, remember, don't talk bad about your ex. Don't be negative.
Oh, yeah.
Don't make little negative innuendos and say little things. Be genuinely. Kids can read through the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to know. If you're faking it, it won't work.
And we say this all the time over and over again, and we'll be saying it forever because it is so critical and so important for them. Even us knowing, and I'll speak personally, even knowing my 2 stepchildren for, a really good portion of their life, at 5 and 3 years old, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel like we're in this position of, there is this loyalty. There is, you are my family. But in the beginning, even though I knew them so young and they liked me, I was just this nice, fun person that was really sweet to them. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be totally, that's it. You're
agreed.
I'm going to be super loyal to you. That doesn't happen automatically, which leads into the next one. And this is probably one of the toughest to accept, but it is true. And I hope is that when we talk about this briefly, is that you understand where the child is coming from. And that is about expecting that the stepchildren will respect you. And the biggest thing is that feeling that they don't. It's like, oh my gosh, they don't care about the rules that I have in this home. They don't care about attitude or being respectful to me. Or
when you hear, you know what, you're not my dad. You can't tell me what to do. And part of you is like, I'll break you in half. But
that's part of you. That's thing that you have.
That's the thing. I mean, I don't care. You could be from the like that side of going, you will listen to me. I weigh 15 times more than you. But it can be very upsetting. And it's one of those things where you have to step back and go, you know what? Maybe not now, but as we build our relationship and as I start to earn your trust, which nobody has to give you their trust. Trust is earned, respect is earned, and it is lost quickly.
Yes.
So remember that.
It is so true. It is earned. And that's the thing. I mean, I've gone through moments as a step parent where it's like, I know I've asked certain things like, hey, can you help out with this or do this or that? And you sometimes get a look that's just like, and it doesn't happen. And you take it personally and you go, they just flat out don't respect me, And then it's like, I've got to talk to you about it. There have been those moments, but hindsight, like now, like having had the experience and going through watching them grow up and mature and seeing the like amazing amounts of respect that I get and the things that they do to go out of their way to show respect makes me appreciate the time spent to earn that respect. Because how can you expect that they should respect you on the level that you want so instantaneously, especially when you're part of their world that's being rocked. You're part of this newness that's coming in.
And man, they didn't ask for any of this. They didn't ask to like be thrust into like this situation. They don't know how to deal with the feelings of betrayal for the other parent. They don't want their family broken up, regardless of what was going on that made you and whoever else not be together. The kids didn't want that. They liked having their mom, their dad, their two heroes, the two people that are supposed to be like their rock, their support, the thing that like can never waver, split. And it usually doesn't come with like, oh, hey, we were getting along so good and everything was so awesome. There was probably a bunch of stuff going on in the home that wasn't that awesome to start. So now they're like, and I'm being forced into this new situation. It's terrible. So let's have a little empathy for those little kids.
Yeah. And I think it helps if you just think more about where they're coming from. Think about how young they are. They've had less experience than you have, which I want to actually just bring in the next thing is that the idea that stepchildren can think like adults, because so many of us get offended. Oh, I can't believe I do hear this stuff all the time. I hear the frustration from step parents who are trying to get along with stepchildren. Oh, it was so obvious that, so-and-so did this to me. It was clearly trying to say that I don't have a role in her dad's life, or I don't have a role in, his mom's life. There's like, you can see the adults getting completely offended. And I feel like what's happening there is that you're actually thinking that they are thinking like adults and they are not. And you kind of have to take a step back and remember what it was like for you to be a kid. Maybe you grew up in a family with a stepmom or a stepdad or divorced parents. I don't know what your dynamic was, but I'm just saying, think back to when you were a kid and could you easily process things? Don't you look back and go, gosh, I can't believe I behaved in a certain way.
Summer grew up in a non-blended family situation.
Right. My parents are still together.
Only child. Her parents are still together. Now look at my side. My parents are still together. I am the biological child between two parents that have been together my whole life. But I have a ton of stepbrothers and sisters. And the dynamics of how things, I got to observe.
And half brothers and sisters. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my dad had 4 kids on his side. My mom had 2. We were a giant gang of people. Now, I got to see a lot of the dynamics from a very safe position, from a position sitting there going, okay, I have a secure family that seems to be all good for me. Why is all of this drama going on around me? And why is there all this negativity? And it gave me some real perspective. It also made me a little bit terrified of, getting divorced and having to have my kids be in a situation like that. And I think this is all stuff that I will be open and willing to talk about later, because we're getting a little off track.
On a later episode, yes.
Potentially, because, this is, hard stuff. But right now we're talking about the things that you need to consider.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for taking a chance on us and listening to our podcast. Our goal is for you to not only learn from us, but to learn with us. We've taken a leap on being pretty open about our blended family and how we do life in everything. We want to make sure we bring you all the things you want to hear, always. So please, if you have specific questions like, how do I get along with my ex? Or how do I get along with his ex? Or how do I set some boundaries in place? Or why doesn't my stepson like me? Please email us with your questions. Email them to info@summerfelix.com because we want to answer those questions, and we aim to bring you the best guests and conversations to address your most burning issues about everything, always.
The mission here and the reason we have this podcast and talk about these things and repeat a lot of the same things is because the goal is that adults take responsibility for where they're at, and that we become better parents, and we create a better experience and environment for our children to grow up in, regardless of whether it looks like the conventional family or not, because there's all different ways to structure a family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's not so much, and I said this on our live, it's not so much about the way that it was built. It's the way that you create that environment. It's the way that you're living together. It's what you make of it. The way that it came together is less important. How you arrived here is less important. It's what are you going to do right now and moving forward?
How are you going to build it moving forward? How are you going to make it the best?
Right.
And guess what? I don't even think that it's the abnormal living situation anymore. More than 50% of all families have some dynamic of being in a blended family.
Mm-hmm.
It's the so new true. Norm.
Yeah. And the thing is that it requires a lot of maturity and mindset to go about it the right way. And so going back to this last one that we were talking about, which I think is such an important one, is that people actually do get offended by children's behavior, especially stepchildren's behavior, because they're expecting them to act like an adult. It's almost like they're treating it as if like, oh my gosh, you were my 35-year-old coworker that did this. And you have to remember
they're kids.
They are kids.
They're driven by emotion.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the natural intuitive ability to, well, I guess they have the natural intuitive ability to just act emotionally.
They just don't have the skills yet. They don't have the emotional maturity yet. That is what growing up is all about, is to learn that. It's to have outbursts. It's to be a jerk and do all those things and then learn from it and go, ooh, that didn't actually pan out for me, did it? Maybe I'm going to learn to do it a different way. And I tell the kids that a lot of times, there's been times where, there's been tears where I'm like, hey, the way that you handled this, I still love you. I'm not mad at you. I'm disappointed in the way that you handled this, but let's use this as an opportunity for the next time that you get upset and heated up and feel like you're just going to have this extreme outburst or you lose your temper. Maybe take a minute and learn some tools on how you can chill and take a breather before you react a certain way. We as adults just need to be empathetic and be aware of where they are at. So hopefully I made that super clear, because I feel pretty passionate about that when I hear people get really upset and frustrated. Like, just remember, it's not to say that behavior is okay. I'm never saying like, hey, it's okay. Wow. They get to just act that way. But it's like, have empathy and understanding for why it's happening, and then guide and teach. That is ultimately our job. And even if you are a step parent and the child has their two bio parents, you have the privilege of getting to be a role model and another teacher in their life.
True. And remember, when you have that feeling that like they're doing this to me, just remember that they're doing that because they're in pain or discomfort. Nobody wants to be like that. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And just go, you know what? I could act like this, or I could maybe go at it another way.
Yep.
That like, hey, listen, I want you to know how this makes me feel. And I bet you're feeling a certain way too. Like maybe we could talk about it.
Yeah.
Build the trust, earn the respect.
Okay, so going into a few other ideas that you might have, this is more focused on the relationship between you two coming together and blending this family. And it's really about the relationship. And I think
Wait, is this one the one where you might think that the kids are all, now that there's more of them all together, that they're going to mow the lawn, get all the dishes done, and that all of like the housework is going to be accomplished even faster because there's like power in numbers? Is that this one?
Yeah. Well, you know what? That wasn't even on the list, but
well, guess what?
Yeah, throw that out. And when we say all these things will happen eventually, throw that out too. That's not going to happen eventually.
I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen around here. They're messier in numbers.
There are those times where I'm just like, wait, did you actually just clean the kitchen? What's happening? And then there's...
You walk in and you're like, what in the hell is going on around here?
Come through here. Yeah. Okay. So
just kidding.
The next few items are really in relation to you and your spouse together, and some of the ideas that you think are going to happen. And I think that I might be speaking to a lot of women here that would relate, is the idea that you are going to be fully like, your spouse is going to completely see your side and completely support your side in everything. And
this is for everyone out there besides Summer, because I always see and understand your side.
Yes.
Oh boy.
I think we do a really good job at that. But that all comes down to communication. But we've learned that because there were times that I did not see your side or you did not see my side. And that comes with, you have the expectation that your spouse is totally going to understand where you're coming from. And, I just did an episode on stepmoms and the things that we wish other people knew. Really, you wish that your husband knew about what you're going through. And a lot of times you don't. You know why? Because you're not in the same position. You guys are both experiencing different things and different dynamics based on who your ex-spouses are, who you're co-parenting with, who the children are, what their personalities are. It's so different. I mean, you might have one child that is all about, oh my gosh, I love my stepdad. We get along so great. And there might be another child that's like, I don't know about this like person who's supposed to be my stepmom. I don't know if I am super vibing with her. There's so many different things that are going on. So the experiences are different, but the expectation that your side is going to be seen all the time, it's just not going to happen unless there's some type of communication. It can be, and it can be understood. But and empathy is so important. But in order for that to happen, there has to be communication. But so many times, I think that women, and this happens in just relationships in general, that women might have the expectation, doesn't he see how much I'm, doing for the kids and taking them to their activities and making lunches and doing laundry. And at the same time, the father model will be saying, doesn't she understand how much I'm trying to earn for this family or how I'm working so hard and also trying to make time for all of us to be together? So there's different things that, you may have the false expectation. And then when you have that false expectation that you're just going to get it, that's when
you get really disappointed.
Well, you get disconnected too. You get disappointed and then disconnected because you're like, why doesn't he see this? Why doesn't she see this? And then you put up walls. And so that's why we've said on other episodes, like, it's so important to communicate with each other and make sure that both of you are being heard before it gets to the point of, well, now I'm just hurt because you didn't realize that I was doing all these things. And it's like, and it's probably not going unnoticed. Maybe it's just not being acknowledged. And it's also not being understood that you might have some problems with it. You might have an issue with it.
I think we oftentimes think that it's other people's responsibility to know what we're feeling or how we're thinking, but it's really not. And that's in our own head. you have to be clear and you've got to take time to help people understand. And everybody learns in different ways. Some people are super visual. Some people have to see it. Some people have to feel it. Like everybody accepts information at different rates, at different speeds, and in different methods. Mm-hmm. So know your audience.
Meaning your spouse. It was quite a disappointment for me when we first got together and blended our family that Mike couldn't read my mind.
As well as she thought I should, because I was actually pretty darn good at reading it, but not 100% of the time, because she thinks in very long story-like thoughts. I'm more bullet points. Let's get to it.
We've definitely learned each other's communication style. That is for sure. Oh, I just have to interject really quick because this is really cool, because I don't know how any of you who follow or listen might know that I have been doing improv. I'm now well into level 2 improv. I'll soon be done with level 2, which is cool. But what's really cool is we're at this place where we're really learning how to listen. And so there's a cool exercise that we do that I was just like, oh, this would be great just for couples in terms of communication, where somebody says something and then you have to repeat the same thing back. And
that's active listening.
It's active listening, and you have to repeat the same thing back, and then you have to respond with, like, you really have to hear it and then respond with how it made you feel. And I thought that it was very interesting, because what it did for us is it makes you go a little bit slower in terms of how you're communicating. And so many times we are thinking about ourselves and our own thoughts and what we're going to say next without even hearing what the other person said.
Isn't that like pretty standard conflict resolution?
It totally is. But,
practice. I'm a hostage negotiator. And one of the skills that I learned is that you have to acknowledge someone's feelings, repeat back what you think they heard, then talk about how it made you feel, then suggest a resolution. And those are the steps to actually getting what you want.
We've actually talked about this before, for you. And
I'm not really a hostage negotiator.
No.
Well, I'm a part-time hostage negotiator.
Mike does that really well, and that's actually a really good tip, is when... Have we talked about this? We might have talked about this before on one of our episodes, but he is very good at, if I'm the type of person, if I'm upset, I get very quiet and I expect him to read my mind. And when he does it, then I just kind of go into my own cocoon. And he's very good at poking the cocoon and saying, hey, what's going on, whatever. And then, he just asks the question of what are you feeling? It seems like you're upset. And then when I will say what it is, and if it had to do with a conversation we had or whatever, he will say, okay, so what I'm hearing from you is, and then he'll say, well, here's how it made me feel. And then, like you said, then it's okay, well, how do we do this differently next time? What's our suggestion to improve this? It's very
And then I'll say, do you think tactical. It's time to put down the knife?
And I say, no. Okay, there are no knives. Okay.
There are no knives. Everything is cool. She is half Puerto Rican and half Italian.
Half Puerto Rican.
And that Latin blood, trust me, she may seem all nice and polite right here on the Everything Always podcast, but there are times that fire can come directly out of her eyeballs. That's when it's time to run. Find high ground. Okay.
Do I get fiery, really?
No, never.
I know I get all excited about things, but in terms of, I feel like I'm the quiet anger type.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not all the time. Okay. Well, enough about us. Let's round this up. I think we've had a pretty good go at it here with the things that you probably need to reconsider before you decide to blend your family. Although we're not saying to not blend your family.
Well,
these
you
are
said,
things
it's
to consider.
To consider and think about.
Ideas.
Know what you're signing up for. If you've already signed up for it, take responsibility for signing up for it. And know that things are not going to be perfect. And you know what? You probably already knew that. But I think it's just really, really accepting it and going, okay,
those expectations.
I know it wasn't going to be perfect, but why isn't everybody getting along is kind of what ends up happening. But I knew that there were going to be challenges, but why isn't he seeing my side? or I knew that she might not like me right off the bat, but why is she being so disrespectful to me? So that's kind of what we're trying to address here.
Like right after my nap, this is messing me up.
Right after his 20-second power nap during an actual episode. All right, guys, that's what we wanted to share today. I hope that that's been useful. We are starting a closed group, actually, where people can come to communicate with other members of blended families. Sorry, a closed Facebook group. And it's called Everything Always. And I'm pretty sure if you search Everything Always on Facebook, you should find this group. It's a closed group. There's also an Everything Always page, which we haven't really done anything with. We're mostly focused on the closed group because we wanted to get some members in there and let you all start a conversation and talk to each other.
An open forum, and some are not in there to chime in, and occasionally we'll do some stuff that's going to be kind of cool.
We will definitely be moderating it and offer our advice too. And the reason we're making it closed is because we want some really good people in there and make sure that everybody's contributing and that there's, some good stuff happening in there to motivate people, help people.
A little army of awesome blended familyers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's the Everything Always. It's just Everything Always, and it is a closed group. Ask to join. We'll check you out. If you have a good enough Facebook profile picture, we'll let you in. Just kidding. Tell us about yourself when you ask to join, and then we will let you in there, and we will talk all things blended family. You can also find show notes, all those good things on this show at everythingalwaysshow.com. You can also go to summerfelix.com. We also want you to join us for Brewing with the Molders, and we're doing that
every Friday morning. 7 a.m. Coffee.
We're doing it on Facebook. We're doing it on Instagram. And soon enough, we are going to switch up that time because summertime's going to come. And you might be like, I'm not up this early. Maybe you are going to work, but you're not taking kids to school. I don't know what you're doing, but you might choose to join us for happy hour.
We're going to see.
Towards the end of the day instead. We're going to test it out.
It could be a summer thing.
So anyways, we would love for you to join us. Keep sending in your emails because actually I'm doing my very best to answer them. As you know, we are not counselors. We are not therapists.
We are just parents in the middle.
We are just parents in the middle of it, knowing what has worked for us and what hasn't, and we want to help you as much as we can. We're about building a community here. So we're so grateful for all of you who are listening.
Don't forget to like and share.
Like and share, please, and subscribe. It's all about subscribing because when you subscribe, guess what? Then you get the little notification that's like, hey, Mike and Summer have another episode out. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, that's it. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening.
All right,
we will
catch you
next time.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to our podcast. You know what they say, if you can't find what you're looking for, then you need to create it. So that's what we did.
Yep, I scoured the internet and looked for the tribe that spoke to me, and I just couldn't find the community that was raw, vulnerable, and really wanting to make a change to the millions of families like ours. So I decided to create it. It took about one conversation for my husband to say, I'm in, and here we are.
But it takes listeners like you to keep it alive.
So please, if you like this, write a review, take a screenshot, share it on your social media. Tell people, it means the world to us.
Remember to email us. We would love to hear from you.
And please share this with someone you love.
And be bold enough to share it with someone that you don't.